Let's look at this vibrance that the Public Accounts Committee now has, which is celebrated, has somewhat left the Anti-Corruption Commission sort of maybe useless or inactive, especially when it comes to the Auditor General's report.
Well, there are accountability units or bodies in government led by the PAC, because Parliament is an organ of government. Part of the 3 organs of government, Parliament is one. Lead in terms of the accountability and transparency space. But however, we work with all the other accountability bodies. We work with the Public Procurement Authority, we work with the Audit Service, we work with the Accountant General's Office, we work with the internal audit units in ministries, departments, and agency, so as the Anti-Corruption Commission. They have a mandate that Parliament does not have. They have a prosecutorial power. So whatever that is criminal, that we deem as criminal in the report, that we cannot recover, or we can recover, but we think there should be a criminal prosecution on that particular audit exception, would refer to the Anti-Corruption Commission.
What does the Constitution say concerning the relationship between the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament and the Anti-Corruption Commission as it connects to the Auditor General's report?
Well, I am sure...
I ask because the ACC not long ago, before we left for the Christmas break, was in the studio, and the submission was Parliament is somewhat putting a pause on their inquiry into the Auditor General's reports until Parliament is done, and then Parliament can refer what it wants to refer to the ACC. And
that is the position. The position is, if you look at the drafters of the Constitution and the Constitution we have now, it was passed into law in 1991. Then there was no thought of passing into law a legislation for the setting up of an anti-corruption agency. So directly there is no connection between the PAC and the Anti-Corruption Commission. But however, the audit report, as provided for in subsection 4 of section 119, is the property of Parliament. It is given to Parliament. It is for us, and I appreciate it a whole lot, that at the time when a vacuum was created in the management of the Auditor General's reports, I am not casting any aspersion on anybody, but at the time when vacuum was created, the Anti-Corruption Commission was proactive enough to ensure that they closed that vacuum, and they did not allow an open-ended space for unaccountable activities and transactions in governance that are unclear and unexplained. So for me, what they have done is a clear show of the synergy that should exist between the accountability bodies in government. Before now, they were doing it because a vacuum existed. And now, the PAC has taken its rightful position. The PAC is doing exactly what was expected by the drafters of the Constitution. And what we're doing sits very well with the Anti-Corruption Commission. Even though we don't report to them, they report to us. But as an accountability family, we work in close proximity. And they now understand that where we have a jam and where there are issues that requires prosecution, that is of criminal intent, that is of criminal nature, would refer it to them, and they will move forward with the evidence we would have gathered. Let me give you an instance. They looked at the issue of the Sierra Leone Commercial Bank and the acquisition of the vehicle. Having looked at it, having gone through it, they put out a report. And the report, we looked at the report, and we had to implement the recommendations from the Anti-Corruption Commission. It doesn't mean that Parliament is a subset of the Anti-Corruption Commission, but they had already, at the time when the vacuum was created, started work on it. And what they did was brilliant.
And that takes us to what I really wanted to get, but I needed this information to lead us to the whole issue with the Auditor General, former Auditor General and her deputy, is not unconnected to investigation into the alleged fake receipts in the office of the president. Now, I had asked the ACC, since that information was made public, what did they do about it? They said they started an investigation to that, but since the Parliament is now taking up its responsibility to look into the audit reports, they have had to stop their investigation. So this brings us straight to Parliament. When would you be looking into that allegation of the alleged fake receipts in the office of the president?
Well, what happened is this. I think it was a report submitted in 2020 or 2021, I cannot remember. So you would realize that when I took over in 2024, yes, I had to combine both the 2021 and 2022 reports. And even that, I could not, as a committee, we could not do exhaustive work on everything. So what we are doing is, as we work on the 2023 reports, we'll still be taking up issues that are left hanging in the 2020, 2021, and 2022 reports, so as to ensure that we complete them and get a final position on them, because at the end of the day, they would keep reoccurring because all these issues don't go away.
Honorable Tawa, it doesn't give me pleasure to interrupt you, but that allegation for manipulated receipts in the office of the presidency obviously has nothing to do with the president as an individual, because even the poorest countries in the world, the president does not handle his affairs. There are people paid to handle those things. But it brings not only an embarrassment to the office of the presidency, but also to the country as a whole. But it seems neither the ACC nor the Public Accounts Committee is taking that allegation as seriously as it should by investigating the people who were in office during that time, who are allegedly involved in that situation. How serious is this to you?
Okay, let's also look at it from this angle, that Parliament also has a principle in the standing orders, that whatever that is in court, and the tribunal is the equivalent of the appeals court, yeah, or the high court, yeah. And if it's before the tribunal, it is sub judice for Parliament also to look into it. But that situation,
the tribunal was not investigating the alleged fake receipts.
No, the tribunal
was investigating the professional conduct.
Exactly.
So the professional conduct
and the receipts,
of the people in office then?
And the receipts are part of the evidence that came before the tribunal. So at that point, Parliament is hands-tied. At that point when I took over, I'm hands-tied to look into it.
But now Parliament is free. The tribunal have rounded up. They have presented their report. It leads us to what you've not answered. How seriously do you take these allegations within the office of the presidency, which not only embarrasses the office of the president, but the nation at large, especially that it has to do with other countries?
We take every issues raised by the Auditor General very seriously, and we'll look into them openly.
Would you be looking into this one?
I have just said that at the time when I took over, this was a report, I think, in 2021 or 2020. So we had to combine the 2021.
Yeah, but now just for clarity's sake, so, would you be looking into that allegation?
So what I have said also is we would continue to look at other issues that are still hanging in the 2020, 2021, 2022.
Specifically, would you be looking into this issue?
The issue of the receipt is still hanging. There are other issues in the office of the president.
Yeah, but let's just speak to this one specifically. Would you be looking into this one?
We would have to look.
Thank you.